You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to episode 151 of the On Purpose Podcast and the beginning of year number 3. It's been quite a journey as I look back at my life when I started the podcast, where I was and where I'm at now as I begin to record for the 3rd year. The changes that made both in location and how we live and the style of life we have. I'm pleasantly surprised, and definitely not something I envisioned. And as far as our community, I'm certainly humbled that so many of you have been with us for 3 years and you continue to show up every week, and for that we're eternally grateful. This week I wanted to follow up on something that Mark Neal and I talked about last week. If you haven't heard that one yet, jump back in and listen to that one. But he talked about one of his goals in life is trying to establish win-win encounters with everyone he meets. And I love that. And after our episode, we talked a little more. And then in the time since we recorded, I've really thought about that. And I thought, why is it that we're so ingrained that when we meet somebody or we encounter somebody, we're looking for, at worst, 50-50. But let's be honest, a lot of times we go into things looking for 100-0, right? We want to win it all. We want to prove that our point, our thoughts, our way of life is right and somebody else has to be wrong, that there's no way that they could possibly be right. And we spend all our energy and our time approaching each other that way. When in reality, I don't know their experiences. I don't know their history, their background. What if they're different than me, but they're still absolutely right? Why is there one right? Why is there one truth to so much of what we seek in life? Why can't there be many truths? And I thought about that, and I thought, what is the reason that if I see somebody and there's a chance we could learn from each other, what is the reason that I go into it not necessarily wanting to learn, but instead to be right, to be dominant, to be the one that's got everything together? That I teach, but I'm not taught. And I think a lot of times it's our own ego, right? We're afraid to admit we don't know something or that we need help. You know, the scenario Mark and I talked about is you see somebody that needs help across the street, but you're so ingrained in life that everything has to be 50-50, that you only go halfway out into the road. But what if the person on the other side, what if the best they got, the best they can do that day is 25%? Maybe they have troubles at home. Maybe they're rebounding from an addiction. Maybe they're an abuse survivor. We don't know. There's so many things that go into life. Maybe it's just been the worst day ever, and the best they can do is 25%. So they come to meet you, but they can only go 25. And by God, with my ego and all that I know and all that I could teach you and all that I demand is 50-50, we're still 25 apart, so that engagement doesn't take place. I'm not willing to give more than I receive for that small moment. When in return, maybe that person that I could have met, the lesson I could have learned from them would have changed my life. And the temporary imbalance of 75 me, 25 them would be repaid greatly down the road in my favor. How many people are we not meeting? How many stories are we not learning? What lessons are we missing when we go into everything or most things wanting to be right or wanting equality on everything? We're just going in with the mindset to understand, to learn, to give more than we get. And I really thought about that. I thought, how many times have I missed out because I didn't feel like somebody was giving equal in return, so I stopped. Without ever contemplating maybe what they were giving was 100% of what they could at the time. And that's one of the things I love about traveling so much now is I get to see so many different people living different lives and understand there is no right answer to almost anything in the world. Sadhguru talked about this in an episode I listened to a long time ago, but the point of interacting with each other should never be to be right or wrong. It should be to understand. So I can disagree with you. Maybe I don't think we see things the same. I don't have to be right. You don't have to be wrong. I want to know, why do you see it that way? Especially if you look at the events in our world right now, the lay person, you or I listening to this podcast, wherever we are in the world, the 100% truth is we have no idea on most things that we're being told. Yet so many people are picking one side or the other, not willing to meet halfway. And this is being modeled by the highest levels of leadership. And when you boil it down to our lives, I think, man, what a shame. What would I be missing out if I had to be red versus blue, Democrat versus Republican, American versus this person, whatever it is, whatever these artificial boundaries that we create, these artificial identities that we take on that preclude us from learning and living and loving other people. What if none of it's right? What if it's all wrong? And we've identified so hard with it over the years that we are unable to see it. So I loved Mark's analogy that he wants to go into everything with a win-win for both of us. So that means when I come across you, we both feel good when we leave. Maybe I had to give 80 and you only gave 20, but I feel good because I gave my 80. Maybe tomorrow, next week, 6 weeks, maybe 10 years, we cross paths again and I'm down on my luck and you got to come 90 to get me and all I got's 10 and you feel great about it. What if we went into encounters with other people not with the idea that you got to earn my trust, but that I'm automatically going to trust you because somehow the universe put us together right now, so I'm going to trust that this is a good place. Now, if your behavior shows differently, I don't trust you a second time. But why the first time when I meet you do I automatically want to look through tinted lenses that say I can't trust you, I shouldn't trust you, I don't trust you? Earn my trust. And I'll tell you, I've been guilty of that a lot in my life. I think a lot of it is law enforcement, right? People lie to you all the time. You don't trust anybody. But now, 3 years out of that, kind of in a different phase of life, I look and I think to myself, if I first meet you and the first thing you tell me is you got to earn my trust, I'm not sure I really want to. What have I done that said you couldn't trust me from the beginning? Right? And again, I think that goes back to everybody wants to be right or wrong. I'm so right in my position, you must earn my trust. And I think, man, I probably missed out on some pretty cool experiences and lessons for people around me by not trusting them from the beginning when they had done nothing to not deserve my trust. So On Purpose Community, I want you to go out this week and take inventory of where are you at on this. Do you go to, when you're meeting people, are you worried about what they do or who they are? Are you giving them their trust or must they earn your trust? Are your conversations, engagements, encounters about you being right and somebody else being wrong, or are you willing to understand? Will you go greater distance to bring somebody into your circle to improve their life, to learn about them? Or will you only be 50-50 and if I can't make it, then we're just going to miss out? Think about that. And, man, we love you guys here at the On Purpose Community. Please go over to Patreon if you're interested in supporting us financially as we continue to grow our brand around the world. It's been a lot of fun these months recording for you and sharing stories with you and lessons of life. And man, this is a big one. I think let's make a point to ourselves that we're going to start understanding over being right with the people whose paths we cross. Have a great week. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.